Hello everyone, this is sadly the last podcast of our 5-part World Special. It's been a good week, guys.
Oh, I'm sad it's the last one. It's been great, such a good week, a bit soggy like you say, but fantastic racing.
Yeah, it's been fantastic racing. Many new world champions, a lot of up and coming people have shown their names as well, and the course has lived up to expectations and provided with some excellent racing.
Certainly has, been tough. And taking the last two events in turn, the elite women's road race, Dani, I mean, Van Vleuten was obviously stole the day.
Yeah, totally. They were very lucky with the weather. They had a beautiful day out there on the road, but it was such a relentless race from the very start. It was really aggressive. And when they hit the first and only major climb of the day, Loft House, it absolutely blew to bits. And Van Vleuten went 100k to go. I didn't think she was going to make it. And she did, and it was just incredible to see. Everyone was working behind, trying to chase her in a small group, and even the peloton behind that couldn't chase the small group. So yeah, it was a fantastic show of racing, super exciting, and yeah, an absolutely worthy winner with Van Vleuten being able to stay out there on her own for so long.
I don't think Van Vleuten expected to be in that position after that climb, but then I think once she found herself with a minute up the sleeve, 100 k's to go, she's committed to it. She had a teammate behind her, so why not throw all the cards on the table and see what she can make of it?
Yeah, the Dutch were in such a fantastic position because she could just go for it, give it her all, knowing that she had Anna van der Breggen behind. And it was a perfect day for them because Anna did take the silver medal. So 1-2 at World Championships is a fantastic effort.
You know what it shows though is how much more efficient you can be and how much quicker you can travel on your own when you're riding at your pace versus a super strong group behind. You got Chloe in there, super strong time trialist, who were a lot of the time riding through and off and sharing the workload, yet they couldn't bridge that gap.
Yeah, I think the course lent itself to that kind of ride as well. It was very undulating, up and down, twisty, and especially when they got onto the circuit. It's actually really hard to get momentum and speed to form a good chase.
Yeah, so regardless of being out the front on your own or back in the bunch, you're always on the pedals all day anyway with very little slipstream.
Yeah, and I guess having Van der Breggen sat on the back, the other Dutch rider, for those guys in the break, I mean, Danny, as a rider, what is that going to play on your mind? Thinking I'm towing, got Dutch rider up ahead, Dutch rider sat on, you're being done over.
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, in that scenario, there's not much that you can do, I think, until you get to the later part of the race. And then you're going to try and think about your best chances of winning versus her strengths. Yeah, they were going to be the team to beat from the word go, the Dutch. Every year, they show that they dominate as a team. So, yeah, they rode the best race.
And let's not forget to mention third place Amanda Spratt from Australia as well. Great ride from her.
Yeah, very, very good ride. And of course, Van der Breggen picking up her second silver at the championships. Bittersweet.
Yeah. I think she'll be really happy with that. I actually spoke to her last night and she was really pleased with her performance. It's so hard to obviously back up a world championship. So I think a silver would have been almost a gold for her.
And moving on to the men, when we woke up this morning to news that the race was shortened by 20 odd K.
Yeah, happy days for those guys.
Yeah, I think there probably wasn't too many riders, if any, that were gutted about that.
Yeah.
But obviously that race started out in the wet, finished in the wet. What about those conditions? That's obviously going to be draining for the riders.
Obviously, the first decision for the day was what are they going to wear for the race. Now we had guys wearing jackets, and watching the coverage there, you can see some teams had very aerodynamic, tight rain jackets. Other teams had big flappy things that were very unaerodynamic and wasted a lot of energy out there. So I think some teams were prepared for the bad weather, and some teams weren't.
Yeah, and I think those sort of things make such a difference in a race like today. We saw it was biblical from the start, relentless rain, and with a race of that length, you know, if you get too cold, it's another thing for your body to have to work to keep that heat in, essentially, when sometimes in the race you would be going down descents, and yeah, that would be super, super important. So fueling, clothing choices in today's race would have been absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, we caught up with Ben Swift, but one of the things he did mention is in the cold weather, the importance of fueling, carrying on eating. It was easy to undereat and underfuel. So he said that could be a major factor.
Yeah, well, speaking of fueling, as we all saw, the break was established with about 35 kilometres to go. The favourites were in there, Van der Poel and Trentin. Van der Poel looked amazing, and everyone was talking about he had it in the bag. And we mentioned fueling in the cold, and he blew up spectacularly, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. It was amazing to see, actually. It was pretty spectacular. He almost turned his handlebars to the right of the road and then stopped pedaling and literally crawled his way to the line. I think he was caught by every other group that was still on the road, but obviously he gave it everything out there today. I thought he would potentially struggle on a race of this distance. I think when you are so young, that could have been a limiting factor. But again, our winner is still super young, but a few years older than Van der Poel.
Yeah, I mean, Pedersen, for the Danish, 23 years old, a level 8 Zwifter. Yeah, what a ride. And again, when he crossed the line, the emotion, I think that's great to see. A younger guy, I think it's mean more to him winning versus maybe arguably Trentin, who's kind of won big races before.
Yeah. And also is another example of the young generation coming through. We've had so many young riders win big races this year, and this is really a really changing of the guard.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Swifty obviously didn't quite work out for him today. He was also one of the riders who drifted back on the final lap, just kind of run out of legs. Just goes to show what a super tough day it was. We also got a little chat from Rohan Dennis. So Matt Stevens caught up with Rohan, quite insightful after the time trial. So we'll play you that clip now as well.
First and foremost, congratulations, back-to-back wins in the World Time Trial Championships. Coming up that finishing straight, knowing you've won and been able to salute must have been super special.
I sort of knew, but I didn't know. Because I knew at about 10k to go, I had 1 minute, but you still just don't know what the hell was happening. So I didn't fully know until I looked at the clock, probably 150 to go, where my eyesight was actually able to see at that point. And then I was okay, I've definitely won this, and it was a real special moment.
What about the support from the Yorkshire crowd? I mean, we know that Yorkshire's a hotbed of cycling, a lot of passion here. How did that kind of make you feel?
I was actually surprised that a lot of people were cheering for me when I was out the course, and you can tell the accent isn't Australian. So I was like, this is pretty cool. I was out there Saturday, so we raced Wednesday. So Saturday, got in Friday before the race. And there was a lot of locals out at North Allerton that wanted to just come up and talk. So having that surprised me again. I was like, why do you want to talk to me? I'm not English, but it was just nice to have people interested. Not many people have actually seen time trial bikes in person, so a lot of them wanted to see the bikes. Luke and I, we've never seen one of these before. And so Willers obviously have a look, so typical pick it up. How heavy is it? Not super light compared to one of these road bikes, but it's been really special to be here.
And you've got your family with you as well, which kind of must make it extra special.
Yeah, it's last year I didn't have Mel here. She was heavily pregnant, and I was actually a little bit nervous if I was actually going to make it to Innsbruck, or maybe if Oliver, the little boy, came a little bit early, I would have had to get out of there. But she closed her legs for a couple of weeks and made sure it didn't happen until I got home. But this year I had both of them here. That was probably the most special moment, to be able to share it with them, not just backing up, but actually them right at the finish line. And that was really special.
And you've had, let's be honest, you've had a difficult year. You haven't raced since the Tour.
Yep.
How were you able to focus and win by such a big margin as well? Because a lot of people, let's be honest, have written you off for this. So,
even myself, to be honest.
So how did you do it? Explain the kind of mindset and the kind of training you did to get to the condition that you're in.
My coach and I, and also my sports psych, we really made a plan of, okay, we don't want to stress me out too much with training, so instead of doing 3, 4, 5 day blocks and trying to mimic the Vuelta sort of lead up that I would have had, let's stick to 2-3 max. Let's keep it all pretty specific. Obviously there's a lot of stresses off the bike, so that's why we shortened the blocks. We didn't want to raise my cortisol levels too much, and try to manage those sort of things a little bit more. So that was really the big difference for me this year. I wasn't doing big blocks of training, I was trying to be really specific, and that still was quite hard to be honest. The last couple of weeks leading into this, I had my sports psych actually living at my house. And helping out with obviously general life stuff. Obviously it's hard to have almost 1 year in your house and having to look after things as well as yourself while you're preparing for Worlds. And he took a bit of that grunt, which was really, I'm going to say that was sort of the turning point. Around about halfway through he was at my house, so things started to really come back together in my own head. My coach Neil 100% was like, I knew you had it, you were training well, but I was a little bit nervous, he said, but at that stage 100% confident and wasn't even nervous on the day. So things haven't been perfect, but it's rare that they always are.
So Rohan, we all know the rainbow bands are iconic. You've now got 2 jerseys. What does that actually mean to you?
Honestly, last year was super special. It was something, a bit of a closing story, obviously with BMC as well. It was a nice way to just say thanks for the last 4.5 years. This year is a little bit different. Obviously, everyone knows it's been a bit of a tough run in. Also, just to sort of repay a lot of the people who have actually helped me even start me and let alone win. It was a point where I could just thank you. Thanks for all the work we've done. And it's not a massive team, but the team, we all have our things that we bounce off each other. And okay, if he can't fix it, he can. So, and Mel, my wife, she's dealt with most of it, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's just great to be able to repay them, be able to wear the bands again, huge honour. I just have to keep trying to win more and more. Hopefully, Evan Polk just pull the reins a little bit, mate. just for 2 more years, that'd be great. You've got plenty of years to go. Give me a couple more chances and I'll be happy. Thanks for that, mate.
Where'd you keep your jerseys?
I actually not anywhere visible.
Right.
No, I have a bag, obviously the Centennial bag. I had my skin suit in, obviously when I won last year. And the jersey and the medal, shoe covers, gloves, just to say, it's literally sitting on top of a set of drawers that all my other kids.
Right.
I don't like to show it off too much. It's nothing. I don't like people walking, cycling. It's not how I like to live my life, to be honest.
But I believe you've got a couple of questions for me.
So a lot of people don't realise that Matt was a police officer. I'm not going to go into exactly what your role was, but my question is, what is the most... I do know there's obviously more than one, but the PG rated one. So what is the most messed up thing that happened to you while you're on the job?
Okay, cheers. And this is like PG. It's a family show, Rohan, but you know a little bit of background. We've had this conversation before. But yeah, I was working in a town with a football club, Crewe in northern England, and the car park of the football team was being repaired. And they had a few like mechanical diggers knocking about, and it was all coned off and fenced off. And I got a call to go there to report some vandalism, and somebody had hijacked the mechanical digger, knocked down a load of the fences, and knocked down the workman's portaloo. So being a good police officer, a good constable, I thought, I'll help tidy up a little bit before the guys come along and kind of sort things out. And I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll put the portaloo back on it was on its side, so I thought I'd tip it straight upwards. So I sort of picked it up, it was quite light, and as I picked it up, I heard this kind of sound of like rushing water, and all the contents of the portaloo went down my sleeve. I had a big fluorescent jacket, so basically the poo and the wee water went down my sleeve and onto my shirt, and I nearly hurled. I nearly threw up. So I had to call for another police car to come and rescue me. I had to take my clothes off, put them in a bag. Yeah, I just went up on my boxers, which also had that liquid on, and then took me to the police station. I then had to have a shower, and we incinerated my clothes. So that was...
I was about to say, how did you get it off of you? Because that blue stuff is actually, it stains, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mix, but I had a couple of bits of kind of blue stuck to me, but it took a couple of days to get it all out, actually.
You were married at that stage?
Yeah, I was, but I'm not anymore. Thanks very much.
I didn't let you know that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to swerve talking amongst ourselves, but we have got more talk as well. We caught up with Craig Edmondson, who's the CEO of Zwift esports. Fascinating chat, and it's obviously hugely topical with UCI announcing that there's going to be a an esports World Championships hosted on Zwift. So again, we've got about 12 minutes or so chat with Craig that I think is pretty insightful, and there's an exclusive at the end. Okay, we're in Harrogate for the next podcast with Craig Edmondson, who's the CEO of Zwift Racing or esports.
Zwift esports, that's right.
Zwift esports.
Hey Matt, how you doing?
Good, yeah, good to have you here.
Thank you.
So we had an exciting announcement that came out a couple of days ago now that there's going to be a World Esports Championships on Zwift. Super exciting.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, we had a long-standing relationship with the UCI over the last few years. We obviously built the Richmond Innsbruck courses as well as Yorkshire this year. Esports is a natural extension to that, but we are in a very privileged position. We're able to establish Zwift Racing, Zwift esports as a new discipline. It's formally part of the UCI constitution. That enables us to bring in the robust governance and competition structures that will deliver fair competition that we need. Because fair competition is fun competition. That's what Zwift is all about. But we have also this common goal, which aligns us with the UCI around getting more people more active more often. That's the mission behind Zwift. But this is the opportunity to put Zwift up in lights, to create something that's really aspirational. But we want the best riders in the world to be performing on the platform, and we're all set for 2020 when the racing will start.
Having that connection with UCI is obviously fantastic, and there's a long-term plan behind this, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I mean, we're looking at a roadmap now to the LA 2028 Olympic Games. We're building from what Zwift is today, and that's the racing formats that people are used to, the scratch races, typically 45 minutes. This week has been really great. We've been in the Zwift Draft House, and we've been experimenting with shorter formats, more like 20 minutes. The excitement, the electricity in the room has just been really, really intense. The opportunity to get that close to a rider. Normally I see them just flying past on the road. But we had the junior world champion last night, and along with 5 of his peers from the racing earlier in the week, and the Pete Kenny was on the DJ booth. We had Matt Stevens and Dave Charles on the MC, and there's there's a couple hundred people in there. The atmosphere is electric, and it's just a different dynamic for racing. I think it's nothing that cycling has ever seen.
Yeah,
we're in this place where we can take the best of gaming. You see it with esports and professional gaming today in big arenas. You take the best of cycling, but also there's an entertainment factor to it, and that's what we're going to be building and growing over the next few years.
What I was really, really happy to see was that you've made quite an emphasis on the parity of e-racing as well. Was that really important for you when you were kind of building this announcement and your future ambition for e-racing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a personal perspective, I see I'm in a really privileged position. We're starting this from scratch. There's no legacy issues, and we can build something which is built on modern values, and we can hopefully be one of the answers to creating a really compelling proposition for all of cycling. And from our perspective, that means everybody. It's fully inclusive, everyone, everywhere, and going out from the start with parity for whether it's the types of racing that we do, the prize money, all of the individual aspects, especially coverage. So most of our races will probably be head-to-heads, back-to-back, men and women racing. We're even probably going to look at things like mixed racing as well. So you can have team competition, where it could be 4 versus 4 head to head, where you have 2 men and 2 women on a team, for example. But when you get into the dynamics of the racing itself, if you've got sprint competitions, KOMs, you've got male and females in a team, it's when do you want to burn your matches and who's going to burn those matches, because it all contributes to the overall success of and the individual winners that are going to come out of it. But we want to work with the community, all the Zwift racers who are out there today, to try and define what those formats become. That's one of the daunting things I face is with a blank piece of paper, what do you create? And there's things that are in place today, but there's a big journey we've got to go on, because it's got to be fun to play. That's the fundamental, that's the starting point, because if you don't want to participate, then we don't have anything. But the other part of this, the other dynamic is it's got to be fun to watch, because it's about the entertainment and the spectacle that comes with it.
Just talking on that point about it's got to be fun to watch. So for those fans that have been lucky enough to witness a live Zwift event, it's obviously a lot of electricity there, a lot of energy, you say. Is the final package meant to be, is it viewed live? Is it going to be streamed? How do viewers engage in it?
Yeah, there's different approaches that we're going to be working with. One is what Zwift is, how people know it today, remote racing, and we'll build a production around it. So if you think about how cycle racing might traditionally be covered, you'd have a studio presentation, you create features about the individuals who are racing and riding, and then you have like post-race analysis, you'll be looking at the course recons, etc. There's an element of that, but we can do it in a way where we can get the best riders in the world, but also the best Zwifters, elite community riders, or just people like me, just like cycling enthusiast who likes to get out and give an experience which brings that to life, but it enables people to race on their own terms, effectively from the comfort of their own home. Yeah. So that's one aspect. The other is, and there's been an explosion in this area over the last 4 or 5 years. Video gaming and the competitive side of it, it's been building over the last 20 years. But it's now in arenas. I watched the Fortnite World Cup recently. It was in Flushing Meadows, which is the US Open Tennis Center, 25,000 seat arena, open air. Yeah. There was 100 gamers playing a battle royale, which is 100 down to 1. And the atmosphere was electric. And I think to offer cycling that type of experience, that's the journey that we're on. To be able to have that intimacy between a live audience as well as the riders in situ is something which I think is going to be really compelling.
You mentioned there about, and this is open to pros, the best riders in the world, but also normal people, the Zwift community. There's going to be some sort of
amazing riders in that community.
Yeah, of course, but also people who want to be part of that process. Probably won't have a realistic chance of being world champion, but want to kind of enter in some way. What's that qualification process? What's that going to look like?
So we're still working through that.
Okay.
We've got some big and exciting plans, but we started off on this journey making sure that the principles are in place so it's inclusive. Zwift is about removing barriers to entry. You need a bike, you got a few £100, and you've got a turbo trainer. You need a device. I use my iPhone quite often when I'm training on Zwift. It's pretty straightforward. I don't have to get anywhere. I can just do it from home. Yeah. And those principles are the things that we clearly need to build on.
So would it be like any sport where you go from regional championships, state, national, worlds, that they work through those levels?
It is, yeah. And I think this has got to be available to everybody. Mm-hmm. And we have a limited ability to deliver these in real life events. They have to be done and delivered successfully. So we can't do it for every single country in the world, for example. So we're going to select a number of national championships where we'll have remote racing where people can do it from home, but we'll also do it in a place where it's like an arena-based experience. Yeah. But then when you get to the continental championships, we see it as being a mass participation play, as we do for the nationals. So anybody can enter, and it'll take time to build, but I'd expect us to see under 23 races, elite races, Masters Series races, but also different categories. So whether you're an A cat or down a D cat, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. What I'm think we're building is something that everyone can take part in. So in theory, anybody in the world, as long as you're on the Zwift platform, you can participate in a national championships, a continental championships, or a world championships, and you can go all the way.
And ultimately, for the riders who do go all the way, they are competing for, a stripy jumper, just like the winner of the road race is going to win here. It's the same, recognised by the UCI. It's got the same standing.
It is. I mean, you've got to think mountain biking, track racing, road cycling. They're all part of, officially part of the UCI constitution. Yeah. They are a discipline for cycling. And one of the biggest benefits of this partnership that we've embarked on with the UCI is that esports becomes a new discipline for cycling, and with that comes all the benefits. So I touched on the governance side of things, which is really, really important to make sure that we have this fair competition. The other aspect is running the inaugural World Championships. It's like the road cycling World Championships. Every aspect of that will be delivered through this lens, including both for the rider when they're on their Zwift station, but also virtually in the game. The rainbow jersey will be a part of that, which I and everyone else at Zwift is really excited about.
That's me awesome to be riding along, and next thing you know, World Championship jersey comes past you, and they're the best in the world.
So we've got to tempt a few people out of retirement, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've definitely tempted me out of retirement, that's for sure. I think it's a lot more accessible as well for so many people. Like you keep touching on it being so inclusive, and I think that's what's so nice about it, that anyone can do it. And a lot of people wouldn't have ever, they dream of being part of something of such caliber in terms of racing on a bike. So yeah, it's definitely tempted me out of retirement for sure.
What about on the performance side? I know you would have done lots of very long rides in your time and spent many, many hours on a bike. How does this, from your perspective, how does this fit into a lifestyle that you're now leading post a professional career? And you talk about, you're saying you're going to come out of retirement to be a part of this, which, is absolutely amazing. But what is the benefit to you as a rider from that perspective?
I think the amazing thing about it is it fits in with both a professional cyclist lifestyle and my lifestyle now, which is definitely not a professional cyclist lifestyle, because it's so time efficient. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I lead a very busy lifestyle, and to have something that I can just jump on within essentially 5 minutes of being on my sofa or getting out of bed, that's why it fits so nicely into my life now, and that it can be so structured. So if I had a training program, I know that I can do specific efforts and get them done without having to battle with either, being stopped at junctions, for example, or traffic lights and things like that. And with the racing being around an hour, it means I don't have to go out for hours and hours on end to touch on that endurance side of the racing. So a lot of the things I'm doing now are, your HIIT type workouts, your high intensity workouts, which is more beneficial if you are, lacking the time to train. So it's perfect for me now being able to fit it in with my schedule. And then again, it makes it so much more inclusive for, I guess the normal people out there who do, work full time as well, but love to, still train and be athletic in what they're doing.
One of the things I think, one of the reasons why you retired, I think, Dan, is because the travel and the commitment. For us as a couple, and that professional lifestyle is fantastic, but it involves a lot of sacrifice. So 12 months of the year.
Yeah, definitely, and also not just sacrifice on my behalf, but on everyone around me's behalf, such as yourself, family, and things like that. It really does take over everyone's life, and being away, a third to half of the year at least, obviously does start taking its toll. So that is another beauty of it. You can still, put everything into being a top class, world class athlete on the bike, but it doesn't have to then impact on your life around it. And I think that's why Zwift is becoming so popular, both e-racing and Zwift, to ride. I know so many of the people we're associated with, my parents, absolutely love it for that reason, because they can fit it in with whatever lifestyle they lead.
And I guess maybe as a final point, there is that touch of uncertainty about e-racing and so on. But we're seeing it in many sports, aren't we? Like we see it in motorsports where people are going from PlayStation to the real racetrack. And I really think it is a case of the community, cycling community, embracing technology, embracing different types of racing, seeing what it is, and and making the most of it.
I think part of this is we esports is complementary to other cycling disciplines. So whether you're on the track, on the road, or, BMX or cyclocross, whatever it may be, the formats that will be developed over time will align with different types of riders. I believe. I don't think we'll end up with just one type of racing, and to bring that to life, it's very much is trial and error, and we've got to go on that journey. And if it's fun to play, it's fun to watch, then that's how we get our solution.
Yeah. And I don't know what you guys think, but early thoughts and early predictions are that the winner next year will probably be someone who knows Zwift inside out, not necessarily the strongest road cyclist, but someone who's spent time to learn the game and knows how to race Zwift. Yeah,
just drawing a parallel with what we've seen in esports more generally. There is there's a huge amount of skill and tactics that goes into gaming. This is a step. There's a step change here in that physical performance is what's going to drive the overall result. Mm-hmm. But it's not just simply physical performance on its own. It's got to include skill and tactics. And you touched on that quite rightly. When you're racing on Zwift, you need to learn how to start a race. You need to learn how to sit in the pack when you want to rest. You need to know when you've got to burn your matches and make your efforts. Because we saw, the professional races we run on the platform, we see the most successful riders quite often are running at maybe 1 watt per kilogram less than their peer group. And it's just because they know how to race. But the fundamental principle behind this is if you've got a big engine and you can learn how to Zwift, you're going to be successful. And we've already had, Zwift Draft House this week. It's been really, really exciting. A lot of the riders have been visiting. Their agents have been in town as well, and everyone's so excited. I'm not going to name any names now, but we'll see that when the rider lists come out in the future that want to be a part of this. But they're all saying, how do we be a part of this? And they all know they've got the big engines. They all know they've got the right physiology. But the first question that I've been asked is, how do I race on Zwift? Mm-hmm. How do I figure out how I'm going to get that rainbow jersey next year? And there are some riders, younger riders, that are coming through in the pro peloton today, who want to win on multiple disciplines. And it's not just they want to win the road worlds. They're talking about win the cyclocross worlds. They're talking about winning, track world championship disciplines as well. And that is really, really exciting.
Yeah, sure. And obviously within the Zwift game is being constantly, bugs are being fixed and it's constantly being tweaked and changed. But it's essentially the platform as we know it today is going to be what's going to be used for the Zwift Worlds.
So there will be some development between now and next year. We haven't got a lot of time though.
No.
I think the fundamental principle is we want to ensure that we can bring team-based competition into this as well as an individual aspect. And we can experiment with, it might be more of an omnium style, like what we ran with the British Cycling Nationals earlier in the year. We have multiple races, points races, scratch races. Time trial is now a mode on the game. And there is another mode that's in development. I've been talking to John Mayfield at length about it recently, which will change the dynamic somewhat. It's about bringing a more gamification. And you talk about skill and tactics. This is what this game development and game mode is going to bring. So whilst I wouldn't expect to see a huge amount of difference in terms of what the Zwift community is doing today, there will be some evolution. But the core principles will be aligned with the platform and how people race. So there shouldn't be too many surprises.
Would there be a World Championship specific course?
Big question.
I mean, look, you can get an exclusive. I think there will be a new specific racing course that will be built.
Nice.
And
Not too hilly for me, please.
that work is in development, and I'd imagine it will be part of Watopia. It'll be a course extension, but it will be built for Zwift racing and for Zwift esports, and for this journey of national, continental, and world championships. But we'll ensure that what we're creating is something specific for racing.
Epic.
Yeah, there you go. There's your exclusive.
Good chat there. Thanks for your time, Craig. And we look forward to news as it comes out.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all.
There you go, guys. Well, obviously we've spoken to Craig at an extent there, and along with the comments from some of the young riders, esports is going to be the future, we think.
Yeah, well, look, talking to the under 23 riders after their racing, many of the guys hadn't actually raced indoors before, so it was their first experience with it. When we spoke to them afterwards, they were still buzzing, and the main point for me was they knew it was a show, and they really put on a great show for the crowd in there. Like, they raced like young people do, like juniors, throw caution in the wind. They were attacking right from the start throughout the race. It was a really good event for everyone to come along and watch.
Yeah, I think, like you say, they were quite surprised about how electric it was in there and how hard it was. That was what they kept saying, it was absolutely savage. And I think it is such a spectacle for people to watch. And it's proven that this week, having the races at the Zwift Draft House at the World Championships has just opened a lot of people's eyes to what this can actually become. And it was actually really interesting to see the Danish did win the Zwift race last night.
Yeah.
And they had so many, he had so many supporters in there. The Danes really get behind each other. You could see when Pedersen won then, they're such a team. And that was evident to see last night in the Zwift House as well. The two girls, Julie Leth and Amelie Didriksen, a former world road race champion herself, were there screaming at him. And they got super excited as well, which I thought was really, really powerful.
Yeah, and look, I guess for the spectators too, the beauty about e-racing is that you're watching the athlete at their limit for the entire duration, and also you're getting that instant data back. So on Zwift, when they're above a certain watts per kilogram, the data goes red. And we had 623 riders in front of us, and they spent more time in the red in their numbers than what they were in the white.
Yeah, super impressive, and it goes to show these. Everyone who's stepped on Zwift this week takes it seriously. I mean, there's no hiding when you've got a crowd of people in front of you. Even if you go into it thinking, I'm going to kind of race fairly hard, you're going to go flat stick. There's no hiding.
It is funny that the six of them before the race started, they were sort of trying to organise it. Let's say, let's go easy, guys, at the start, then we'll put a show on at the end. But once that flag drops, testosterone comes out, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, guys, Kev, you got a flight to Australia to catch. You better hop, skip and trot. But been a good week.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved being a part of this podcast on Zwift, being at the Draft House to witness some super exciting racing, and obviously on the roads to support the new Rainbow Jersey winners.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic week, and obviously big announcements from Zwift, and the key message is that e-racing is coming. Let's embrace it and let's enjoy the show that it is.
Absolutely. Well, Dani, thanks for your time this week, and Kev, we'll chat with Greg and Kristin on the future podcasts very soon.
Great work. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Dani.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, guys. Bye.